Friends, good news. It has been an incredibly busy summer. This our 8th year here on the old show. So much so I've been on the road more than I've been home, driving some amazing cars like that 680 horsepower Panamera Turbo SC Hybrid Santa Maria Madre de Dios. But that's led to some bad news. I have not been so consistent in answering your questions. So I want to take the next couple of episodes and get to the questions that have piled up. The first one I want to get to is a great question from Daryl Jackson. And his goes right to my cheapskate Dave Ramsey side. And that is, he wanted to know what goes around the idea of keeping a car till the wheels fall off. Meaning the intention is you keep it until that thing can just go no more. So let's unpack how you keep it and why you keep it until the wheels fall off. Now, Daryl, I like to answer these questions on the show as if I were putting myself in these scenarios. So when you're looking to keep a car until the wheels fall off, it's usually one of two buckets. It's the, you're just not a car person, so why waste more money on a car, a better car, when you don't really need one? It's just point A to point B, and fine, it's okay to drive the same car and let the wheels fall off and just tear another one off the roll. At that, not an exciting car. Then there's the second bucket, which I'm guessing is you, definitely me, and that is you are a car guy, because after all, you're watching this show, and you have some other pressing concern, like getting out of debt, putting a kid through school, putting money in the bank, buying a house, some other bigger goal that you're willing to put the car aside, get to that goal, and then circle back to the car. So I'm going to answer this based on that bucket. Now, let's go back to my discussion when I was in university. It was an episode I did with that Toyota 86, and I answered, what would you buy for $5,000? And I gave you some good choices there. But the key thing that I wanted to focus on from that episode and expand here is ratios of life. So let's say, for the sake of discussion, you are a university student and you're either working part-time or full-time. Let's say, for the sake of discussion, you make $25,000 a year. Now, that's good money when you're in university. So I know some university students now that are making more than that. But let's say, for the sake of discussion, you are making $25,000 a year. I would argue that a ratio, a good ratio of the kind of car you want, somewhere between $2,500, maybe max $7,500. That is about it. Notice what I did there. I took 10% to 30% of your annual income. And the logic there is, I want you to have some money in the bank, because invariably in a $2,500 car, something's going to go wrong. A $7,500 car, you're not going to have as much going wrong. You're probably going to have a warranty. But notice, I want to keep you with a certain ratio of your income. I don't want you spending beyond your means. Like, for example, let's say, for the sake of discussion, you took 25 grand in cash out of the bank and you put that on a car. You'd have no money in cash if something goes wrong, like you have a blowout of the tire, the transmission breaks down. Probably not going to happen in a $25,000 car, but something else is going to happen in your life where you're going to need some money. So I don't want you to spend all of your money on one car. Now, before we press on from ratios, an important note here. What I'm saying, not the gospel and not hard and fast rules. These are very conservative parameters. Very conservative, with an eye towards this is up to your specific scenario. Let's go back to our university student example. So if you were a 4-year liberal arts student, you could probably afford to spend a bit more on a car, because your tuition and costs outside of school are not going to be as much as if you were a medical student who's going to be paying tuition longer and have higher fees outside of school. So again, up to your scenario, and absolutely has a huge impact whether you're out of debt or not. If you have debt, you lower these numbers down. Now let's press on to the other important point about driving a car until the wheels fall off, and that is, what are the goalposts? How long do you need to keep the car? And that's all a function of what's the goal that's making you put off the car purchase. For this example, let's move away from university students and talk about a home purchase. Now, in a place like Los Angeles or New York, Minimum buy-in, you're talking $500,000. In cities like Phoenix or Dallas, $200,000 to $300,000. So there you have to ask yourself, what's the goal? Are you going with the 100% down plan, or are you looking to put money down and then take a mortgage out? Now, if you've been reading the Total Money Makeover, you know me with the Dave Ramsey stuff, it's a minimum of 20% down. That gets you out of the private mortgage insurance and frankly lowers the burden. I would highly suggest if you are taking a mortgage out, you want to keep the mortgages as low as possible for other goals. Forget about cars. But let's get back to this. Let's say you're buying a house in New York, and that's going to be $500,000. 20% down, man, is $100,000. So you have to ask yourself, what's your income? How long is it going to take you to get to the $100,000? That's how long it's going to take you, or that's how long you're going to be keeping that car. So you really better like it. And then there's situations that come up, like just for example, I was chatting with my girlfriend. She has an Acura TSX that's 12 years old, paid off. Love the fact that it's paid off. But she just got hit with an $860 repair. And we went through a decision process of how much is that in relation to the cost of the car and replacing the car. And we looked at it as there was no real big repairs over the past 2 years. All she did was maintenance. So $860 to keep a car with 90,000 miles on the road, that's super cheap. Now granted, if you're in debt, working your way out of debt, $860, that's almost your entire emergency fund, but it's cheaper than going out and buying a new car. In other words, I don't want you thinking it's cheaper to make payments on a car to save spending $800 on a repair. That is a trap too many people fall into, or they have this idea of, well, I need to sell my car because it's not going to be reliable. The reality of the situation is, if it's over $1,000, that's A, rare, and B, if it is over $1,000, sell the car for scrap value, come up with another $1,000, and go buy another car until that one falls apart, and then tear another one off the roll. And this is where we get into one of the most important points of this discussion, and that is it's car choice. If you're looking to keep a car until you save this mythical $100,000 to put down on your house in New York or Los Angeles, you really should be looking at stuff like this: a Kia, a Hyundai, a Honda, a Toyota, something very reliable, where the parts are very cheap, and if you could wrench on it, even better. Now, if you're like me and you want something cool, like we talked about in my university days, where I had a Fiero, a Mazda RX-7, a Toyota Supra, those not as reliable as a Corolla. Yeah, they were reliable, but not as reliable as a Corolla. So what I did, I made up for that extra cost by wrenching on it myself. So again, what's important here is car choice has a big impact on the overall cost of keeping a car until the wheels fall off. So let's recap. The first thing is, I want the numbers to be within the correct ratios of your income. Like if you're making, I'll make it up, $70,000 a year, you probably could afford a little bit better car. Doesn't mean you can go out and buy yourself a brand new car. Maybe you buy that $7,500 car and let that be reliable because it has a little bit of warranty left in it. And this way you could focus more on paying off debt, buying a home, buying a girlfriend a rock, whatever it is. The second thing is, I want you to keep intact, what are the goals? Where are you looking to go? Because if you understand your goals, you'll understand why you're driving that car and how long you have to drive it for. This way, you can make some pre-planned decisions instead of like, oh my God, my car just fell apart, so I'm gonna go lease a car for $250 a month. And then third and last, probably most important, it's all car choice. If you're looking to save for that house, or if you're looking for that bigger goal, the longer that goal is out, the less exciting your car is gonna be. That's just the reality of it. That is my 2 cents on this. Granted, I could probably go on for hours on this topic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this around to you guys, and I'm certain a lot of you have other pieces of advice because you've probably been through this scenario, because we all have been through this scenario. So why don't you come up with your pieces of advice for Daryl and put them in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all in word, MotoManTV all in word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I wanna leave you with 2 things. You know, I'm kind of sick of telling you to unsubscribe, resubscribe, click notifications. Yes, I would like you to do that, but you know what? I'm going to ask you, just be consistent about watching our videos. YouTube has bastardized the platform for YouTubers big and small, no matter the genre. This is it. They actually have a term for it. All the YouTubers have a term for it called adpocalypse. This is how bad it is. And then number 2, I want to leave you with a fun fact. You're probably looking around and saying, we're home, where's Kumo? Like, you don't see Kumo anywhere. Well, it is about 100 degrees, about 102 degrees right now where I'm standing. And on days where it's that hot, we've made the decision to leave him home because he just gets so uncomfortable with his thick fur coat. It's a tough day on him. So we gave him the day off, and he'll probably come back in the next 2 weeks as the temperatures cool here in Los Angeles. Until we see you next time, bis später.